Today on the Topic Show, we review Trump's most viral tweet of the week. Putin endorses Kamala for president. Apalachee High School shooting sparks gun grab debate. Ford walks back their DEI initiatives. Aston Martin Vanquish to come back as their GT. General Motors might get hit with a class action lawsuit for bad transmissions. And Chase has an ATM withdrawal issue that sparks controversy going viral and people not realizing, oh, yeah, they're just committing fraud. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder released twice today. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends and share it, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the Aston Martin Vanquish coming back as their GT in all of its glory with a beautiful V12 engine, as all cars should come with by default. Some might debate, well, including myself, how much, can't help but think how many more smiles there would be driving down the road if that were the case. But I partially digress. Now, this comes to us thanks to Joe, who's a writer over at Car and Driver. And they say, quote, Aston Martin Vanquish returns as a brand GT king. They say it will boast a new platform, a new V12 engine, new body, but some old school ideas. And there you can see the new design. And I want to say the only reason people know about this brand is because James Bond. But that's probably 95% of the people who can identify the vehicle see it, as it's become a historic vehicle from the majority of those movies, although they did waver with a couple, dipping their toes in with Lotus partnership, as well as in BMW throughout the years, the good old James Bond franchise. But there is few things more iconic from the UK than this vehicle. Still handmade with pride and has a stick shift, as all cars should have by default, of course, but unfortunately is becoming more and more rare these days. And they say, quote, the Vanquish nameplate returns as a de facto replacement for the DBS, which bowed out after 2023. The new 2025 Aston Martin Vanquish will be the top model in the GT lineup, pricier and more powerful than the DB12 and the Vantage. US deliveries are set to begin just before the end of the year, and pricing starts at, geez Louise, $429,000 plus destination fee, as well as the extortion, the local sales tax they have to pay depending on where you live, or registration tax depending on where you live and how that pans out. And of course, you get that extra extortion tax in the United States with the gas guzzler tax, which is ridiculous because you're going to buy more gas anyway, and that's already heavily taxed. But I only partially digress. Now, it looks really like they just took the good old Vanquish and, made it a little bit more angular. The rims look a little bit more, that'd be might be controversial to say, but it almost reminds me of a Honda Civic that's been tuned out. I don't mean that in a bad way. But yeah, the wheels have a lot more spokes than usual, and it's almost as if they're matte, or maybe like a gunmetal gold in this picture. And the Aston Martin in this case is actually, it looks pretty good in that red paint job. Now here we could take a look at the rear of it, which looks pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and, where is it? There, you can see that. Few photos there. This actually has it now gold in some of the promotion photos. That one, yeah, I was gonna. Oh, how disappointing! The promotion photos have an automatic transmission. How boring is that? It looks like the dashboard has more buttons on it than a TI-84 calculator, which, geez Louise, that probably does date me a little bit since I'm pretty sure that that model calculator has been gone for quite some time. Granted, they have about 12 cows of leather in there, which, that's good. People love leather, and hopefully it's real leather, so it's actually quality material. But then you also you have a digital gauge cluster, a big, almost like basically the iPad cliche stuck in the middle of the console, which inevitably will make these cars look, well, it's one of the first things to date vehicles. It's almost comical. You look at Aston Martins from 10, 15 years ago where they had the flip-up display for the GPS. Even back then they looked rudimentary and old, and now it just looks even more archaic they're definitely not looking for the let's have this car be timeless in this case, unfortunately. Now, going back to the heart of the vehicle, they say, quote, the fresh V12. I think there's a big switch in there. The V12 sits in the market. It's the only applied to a very specific product. If a V12 is twinned with a very specific product, you're going to have strong demand. That's according to Alex Long, who's the head of product and marketing, which knows, quote, we won't bring the 12 down from the Vanquish. That's a change in strategy. This engine will see us at least to the end of the decade. If it's an engine for today, but also could be one that could be further evolved. They say that it's a 5.2-liter displacement, matches the previous Aston Martin V12s, but James Owen, the senior manager of the vehicle engineering operations, describes it as a, quote, a new engine from the ground up. There's literally nothing carried over from the previous V12. It's got a new block, new heads, new intakes, new exhaust ports, and new turbos. The turbochargers are strictly exhaust driven and they incorporate overboost function. Owen says the engine is faster than its predecessor, although the peak out spans wide range from 2,000 to 5,000 RPM. The output is 825 horsepower. That's quite a few ponies under the hood. And they say it also has 738 foot-pounds of torque versus the previous 759 horsepower and 664 foot-pounds of torque in the final version of the DBS 770 Ultimate. It's really important. And he also says, quote, it's really important to go above and beyond where we were before. Top speed is given at damn dyslexia got me again. I was about to say 214 miles per hour. A new higher watermark for the brand. A 0 to 60 time is claimed at 3.2 seconds. 100 happens at 6.2 seconds. As I say, let's actually go back. You see a nice side version here. And it does look better in red. I can't believe they have promo pictures of it. And I don't know. To me, the red just stands out more than the gold there. Is that as an Aston Martin's, the V12 spins in a carbon fiber prop shaft connected to rear-mounted. A rear-mounted ZF 8-speed torque converter transaxle. For the first time ever, the V12 is paired with an electronically controlled rear differential. The rear transaxle and the front mid-engine location helps the Vanquish achieve a 49-51 front-to-rear weight distribution. Let's see here. You gotta have, because again, they have options for the stick shift and other vehicles. Hopefully they come out with that update later, maybe. Again, when it comes to some of these performance vehicles, I mean, granted, the average car sold in North America, that take rate for stick shifts is less than 2%. Yeah, industry-wide, yeah, there's not a lot of people buying sticks these days, unfortunately. But when it comes to certain performance vehicles, like you look at the Cadillac CTS, or the CT4V Blackwing, the CT5V Blackwing, those have actually a 45 and 50% take rate for people choosing the manual transmission over the automatic transmission. So again, there's a big demand, especially for those high-end sports cars, to have that third pedal, as I would argue as all cars have by default. And it'll be interesting to see if Aston Martin does that eventually. And again, they make some great three-pedal vehicles throughout the years. And one of their hyper cars, $1 million plus models that we reviewed, talked about earlier this year on the show, that did come with three pedals. So they have that option. They've done it before. So if I was a gambling man, I'd say there's still a free option that'll happen because they know the enthusiasts will really appreciate it. But geez, Louise, talking about a price increase. I remember, not financial advice by any means. You can buy a used Aston Martin for like maybe $30,000 to $40,000 for a used Aston Martin, depending on miles in the year. But yeah, depreciation hits those cars pretty bad, and then reliability. Their reliability is so bad for the old automatic transmission. They actually had a whole program set up where you could actually ship it back to England for them to do a proper transmission swap to give it three pedals, aka give it a manual transmission, which I think that's very awesome to have as a kind of company response to a failure in design, because they know, as a DP, there's a specific years where it's just basically a grenade. The automatic transmission is going to fail, and it was out of warranty, of course, because it's so long and they didn't do a recall or anything. They said, hey, here's an option. If you want, you just pay us. We'll take the car back and we'll swap it out for you. And they do a great job with the interior as well, so it doesn't look like it's just bolted together awkwardly in terms of swapping it out. That's a great program, a great response to have in terms of issues with your vehicle. But yeah, when it comes to competitors, spoiler alert for the next part of the show, they're not so great. But let me know in the comments. Do you think people will buy this Aston Martin up? Do you think the market will appreciate it? Let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, General Motors might get cited for the class action lawsuit for their terrible transmissions, which yeah, I'm not too surprised. Now this comes with thanks to Jonathan Steppel, who's a writer over at Reuters. And there you can see the iconic, ironically, they're showing the GM headquarters used to be the old Renaissance building over in Detroit, but they actually subsequently are in the process of moving. And they say, quote, GM must face big class action lawsuit over faulty transmissions. There you can see their somewhat modern logo that they redesigned, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? No, they say, quote, General Motors was ordered by a federal appeals court to face a class action claiming it violated the laws of 26 U.S. states, knowingly selling several 100,000 cars, trucks, and SUVs with faulty transmissions. The Sixth Court of Appeals said the lower court judge had discretion to let drivers sue groups over Cadillac, GMC, Chevrolet vehicles equipped with the 8L45 or 8L90 8-speed automatic transmissions sold in 2015 to 2019 model years. Yet another automatic transmission breaking. Only GM made great vehicles with 3 pedals. It's almost heartbreaking. They only have 2 in their entire portfolio of every vehicle they make. It's like 2 left that have 3 pedals, which they should all have by default. The Cadillac CT4 and the CT5. Specifically, I mean, the Blackwing specifically is, the V Blackwing is an amazing feat of engineering. It's one of the few things they do great over there these days. Yeah, they say, quote, drivers said the vehicles could shudder and shake in high gears and hesitate to lurch in lower gears even after normal repair attempts. They also accused GM of telling dealers to provide assurance that hard shifts were normal. I could see that. GM did not immediately respond on Thursday to the request for the comment. The decision was issued on Wednesday by a 3-judge panel of the Cincinnati-based Court of Appeals. The GM litigation covers over 800,000 vehicles, including 514,000 in certified classes. Vehicles include the Cadillac CTS, oh no, the CT6 and Escalade, Chevrolet Camaro, Colorado, Corvette Silverado, and GMC Canyon, Sierra, Yukon, and others. Now, thankfully, if you're an enthusiast about the Camaro and the Corvette, well, those came with 3 pedals. Actually, not the C8 Corvette because they bastardized it, but the good ones, they came with 3 pedals, so this won't affect you, thankfully. They said, quote, in opposing class certification, GM said that most class members never experienced problems and therefore lacking standing to sue. They also said there are too many differences between the class members to justify group lawsuits. Here. So we'll see how GM makes. I mean, they've had reliability problems for many years. I don't think it's going to be big enough to bankrupt them. Again, not financial advice, though they have been bankrupt 3 times since Billy Durant founded the company all those years ago. And yeah, Ford, well, I mean, they might have to pay for this. Ford spent $800 million last fiscal quarter fixing old vehicles because of warranty claims. I'm not sure if the warranty claim dollar amount would be that high and substantial, but let me know your thoughts. And just anecdotally, do you know anyone who buys General Motor vehicles these days? I mean, I have family who, you know, have almost a de facto thing when you live in Michigan. Well, they're usually employed by one of the big 3, you know, GM, Ford Motor Company, or, you know, somewhat still American, Chrysler, which is owned by Stellantis overseas. But yeah, you get the friends and family discount, so you see a lot of them, you know, throughout the Midwest, and, you know, my family used to have a lot of them, and they even have like a lease program for retirees. So a couple of my relatives still have GM vehicles because of the amazing lease benefit that they get. But I'm trying to think of like friends who have gotten cars the past couple of years. How many of them in your group or friends actually bought a GM product, and have they had any issues with it? And then does this specific recall affect you? I can't help but think might dip their sales a little bit. But let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have an Apalachee High School shootings during gun debate, and you have a heartbreaking story of a heroic teacher, which is, it's always good when you see some of the good in humanity. I like to tell people, if you look at the glass, it's usually half full, depending on your perspective. But you squint hard enough in life, you tend to find the good, and you got a nice, powerful story here. Very fortunate. Obviously, it's a fluid situation. It's more developing coming out, but it appears as if someone coming to school caused massive havoc. In this particular case, I believe, again, it might be a fluid situation. Teachers were not allowed to carry, but apparently it was subsequently ended by an on-school, I believe it's not staff sergeant, I apologize, a on-school police resource ending the life of the perpetrator. Now, this is a 14-year-old girl who described how brave her teacher was and how he actually guarded her with his life. Without too much further ado.
I started running. He started shooting like 10 times. He shot at least 10 times. And then I ran to the back of the classroom. I dived behind the desk, and my teacher had got in front of me like he was guarding. But like the gunshots were so close to me, like my ears started ringing real bad. Like the whole classroom was smoking, like, and everything. And then when he finally got out of the classroom, my teacher started barricading the door with desks and bookshelves and all that. And then I had got up. When I had got up, I had saw one of my classmates on the ground bleeding so bad. And then when I had moved myself to the other side of the room, because the bookshelf I was hiding behind, it was right in front of the door. So I had moved to the other side, to like this side with my friend. And I was checking on my other friend because he got grazed in his leg, And then there was a white girl that was in front of me. She got shot in her leg and stuff. And then my other friend got shot in her stomach, and it was just so sad, stuff like that.
Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot to process. And you're so young. You're how old?
14.
That's so much to have to process in class where you're supposed to feel safe.
Yeah.
How are you doing now? I mean, what's going through your mind?
Like, it just keep replaying back in my head. I just thank God that I wasn't the one that got hit, you know. Like, in the midst of all of it happening, I was just thanking God because, you know, he had his hands around me and stuff like that. Because I could have been the one that got hit because I was right there. He could have.
That teacher definitely is the definition of stepping up to the plate, doing his going above and beyond. I was Brea Valley got 4.2 million views as well as 51,000 likes. One of the first comments coming from Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, God bless the teacher, getting 2.7 thousand likes. You have Paul Zupa saying, beautiful statement, bring peace with God in a moment like this is everything, getting 365 likes. Very interesting profile name. The bitch is back. Very unique. Says, quote, too bad his hands weren't wrapped around a gun. And it says, best quote ever. And it says, picture of a, looks like a former Marine, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper, saying, quote, if violent crime is to be curbed, it is only the intended victim who can do it. Felon does not fear the police. He fears neither the judge nor the jury. Therefore, what he must be taught is to fear his victim. True. That got 301 likes. Here. Rick Suit says, quote, get every counselor in 50-mile radius at the school stat. They're going to need help. Group getting 802 likes. Salty Goat says, quote, gotta love teachers that will put themselves in harm's way. Had those teachers been armed, none of this might have happened at all. Group getting 622 likes. Florida 1 says, this teacher is a hell of a man. God bless him. 2 teachers were killed today. Pray for their families. Getting 846 likes. Orwell's handmaid says, quote, praise God, he had his hands around me. Yes, precious child, he did. Amen. Getting 601 likes. Or sorry, 11 likes. Going down more and more. Broadway Press says, good people still exist. Getting 93. Let's make it 94 likes. Going down more and more. I mean, there's not going to be too many contrarian statements in this thread, I don't believe. Now, again, the big controversy is that, of course, as soon as this happened, every left-leaning Democrat on social media said we need to take away everyone's guns, and this is God blame the NRA, which, not to diss the NRA, but they become less and less culturally and politically relevant throughout the years as they've abandoned. Again, I respect the NRA and the fact that they do some safety trainings for folks, which again, safety is important. I think we should also go back to the good old days where schools actually taught gun safety, because again, there are children who die in the United States because of improper handling of firearms, and they come across and they don't know what to do. But yeah, I think every child should be taught the 4 rules of gun safety, and they should be taught, hey, if you see that, if you're at home, you see a gun handed out, again, you gotta make sure your parents are responsible as well. Just don't touch it. You tell an adult. And yeah, there's a lot of preventable deaths in that regard, and yet it's very frustrating that the federal government, again, they dictate a lot of school curriculum. There's a reason they no longer have a lot of things like archery or shooting, extracurricular shooting, like trap shooting teams in a lot of these public schools. And it's one of those instances where, yeah, there's a lot of preventable deaths where safety could come into account. That's where I think the NRA does some good. And they've gained a little bit of gun rights throughout the years, but they're almost becoming a scapegoat in terms of everyone just blames them every time there's something bad that happens, which is just ridiculous. And they'll blame everyone except the actual individual who did these evil things, which I'm not going to glorify the SOBs by using the name. But yeah, it's one of those instances where they're all calling for guns to be taken away. No one needs these dangerous things. And yet these are the same. I always debate if they're morally vacuous or just stupid, or a little more mentally vacuous, or both. Because again, many times these happen in gun-free zones. Over 90% of the time, mass shootings happen in gun-free zones, which, again, those things are a cruel joke. It's not a gun-free zone. It's just a gun-free zone for good guys where you're disarming them. And I'm actually surprised there's not more lawsuits in terms of, there's your God-given right in the Bill of Rights, and when you're a teacher, you're a government employee, they take away your right when you cross that threshold of the schools. Again, some schools do allow teachers to carry, and yeah, I can't help but think that'd be one of the best. No, that would actually be the best way to prevent something like this. As well as, I mean, famously, there are a couple of schools when there was a tragedy a couple of years ago. They actually posted a sign on the front school had the front school has their signage, and under it they'll have a couple letters you swap out like McDonald's sign to let people know updates. They said like 6 of our teachers are carrying Glock 45s. Guess which ones? Pretty compelling reason not to go after that school. And bad guys might be evil. They are. They are not necessarily stupid. They're going after what we call soft targets because they know there's going to be little to no resistance, so they know they can do a maximum amount of evil. And it's ridiculous this become a political issue, and so many people want to debate on the inanimate object as a core reason this is happening. Again, why back the clock a couple years, you had guns at schools all everywhere. They had gun racks when kids would go to schools. So that's why I always say this is a big culture thing, as well as it is a law thing in terms of disarming teachers to go to the schools. But yeah, unfortunately, it's become a kind of a political thing to push everyone and divide folks in the United States, and it is a tragedy. I hope that everyone who is, in terms of the people who are injured, I hope they get a speedy recovery. And silver line, a lot of people can say it's a low bar, but I still think, thank God, it's not worse. Because again, it could always be worse. I know it's sometimes people don't like that barometer or that measurement, but yeah, it's a heartbreaking situation. Hopefully, maybe we'll come together to actually find a way to stop these things. I'm pretty pessimistic in terms of the unification of the country when it comes to these issues. But let me know in the comments, what do you think is the most effective methodology, with the exception of evil people who just want to use these events for propaganda to disarm Americans? I think a majority of Americans want the same. They see the same problem as in terms of young people having their lives taken away prematurely. So if we can agree on having the same problem, we agree on the outcome we all want, or majority of us want, is less people passing prematurely from these evil perpetrators. I would hope that we can come together and think of a methodology that would be, or we just examine the data and historically look at the methodologies that are most effective to fix these issues. But these days I'm pretty pessimistic if there's really anything that could unify our country, or a culture in the country. But let me know. I mean, what are your thoughts on the most effective methodology to stop these evil things from happening? And do you think those methodologies will be rolled out on a national level in the United States? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Ford Motor Company walking back their DEI initiatives as we see more and more companies kind of following this. I was about to say these tire tracks, perhaps would be the best metaphor. I mean, in the past couple of weeks, we've seen Harley Davidson, John Deere, and Tractor Supply all very publicly move away from this. Now, granted, in terms of repercussions, we haven't seen anyone on the board of directors or any of the senior leadership at these companies being ousted of these issues. So a lot of people are questioning how authentic are they really in their new statements? Are they really going to follow through with it? Or are they simply just removing it from the websites? So again, it will be interesting to see what the follow through is on these initiatives. But again, this is one of the largest, most prestigious companies out there. Even with all the recalls, Ford still makes some great things. If I won the lottery, I'd probably get a Mustang with a stick shift, as all Mustangs should be by default, of course. I mean, they won the pointing car war. I mean, the Camaro's going to be apparently an EV two-door SUV. The Charger, well, it's electric, or with an option of a straight six, which good for BMW, not for a Charger, not for a Dodge. We want a Hemi, but I partially digress. Now this comes to us thanks to Breck, who's a writer over at Fox News and Fox Business specifically, which is somehow still in business. I think I account for 13% of their network traffic these days. I'm only partially exaggerating, but they say, quote, Ford walks back woke DEI policies, joining list of growing U.S. companies. Ford says it will no longer participate in the LGBT-focused human rights campaign corporate equality index. A little bit of stutter there, but if you click that subscribe button, it may very well help in the speaking ineptitudes. Help me think when I first started the show, spoke even worse than I do now, believe it or not. Spoke a lot faster, mostly monotone, and I stumbled over my words, kind of like Biden trying to walk upstairs, or Biden trying to speak. However, as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've become more articulate in my speaking. Some might argue it's just a modicum improvement, but I would argue an improvement nevertheless. So if you can click that button and help me improve my speaking skills, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, diving into the article, they say, quote, Ford is backing away from some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, becoming the latest American firm to pump the brakes on woke policies, this year joining the likes of John Deere, Lowe's, and Tractor Supply. Anti-woke activist and filmmaker Robbie Starbuck, who has been leading a campaign exposing major corporations' woke policies, reported on X on Wednesday that he was in the middle of investigation of Ford when the company sent him documentation indicating that it has some changes, which there you see there, good old CEO Jim Farley, which, gotta give him credit. He again, kind of ADHD comment, but it's Ford. I mean, he famously said a couple of months ago he doesn't care what GM or Dodge are doing in regard to their pony cars. He will always make an affordable V8 sports car, which is awesome because that's becoming more and more rare. I apologize for the ADHD, but I'm a little bit of a gearhead, so there's always some good news. But nevertheless, Robbie Starbuck posted a letter from CEO Jim Farley to employees, where the CEO stated that, quote, the external and legal environment related to political and social issues continues to evolve, and thus in the past year the company has taken a fresh look at their policies and practices, unquote. Which, that is an extremely politically correct, not controversial at all way of saying we're done with this woke stuff. Now, granted, maybe this is just temporary for a couple fiscal quarters. Maybe the marketing wasn't to increase their sales to these initiatives, and maybe they weren't attracting additional shareholders. Because again, there are many variables of why some of these companies are leaning into these woke DEI initiatives and policies and metrics, because they'll get some investments from certain companies. I mean, look at BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. If they have a high score in those type of metrics, there are reasons these companies are doing this. It's not. I don't think it's just because one or two executives at the company are politically or emotionally involved in this rhetoric. There are many metrics that lead to them doing this. Now they say, quote, in the letter, Farley laid out a series of bullet points telling the Ford workers that the company does not utilize quotas in hiring, saying that they prioritize its resources for business purposes versus publicly commenting on the many polarizing issues of the day. Farley said the company has evolved its employee resources groups, ERG, noting that the ERGs are open to all employees. Farley also claimed Ford employees made the decision earlier in the year that no longer participate in the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index, which is an annual survey that report to use gauge policies, practices, and benefits pertinent to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, and queer plus employees, which I thought that was a pejorative term, but I think it's making a comeback apparently. But they also said, quote, Ford confirmed the authenticity. I need more people to click that subscribe button. It'll help, I swear. So Ford confirmed the authenticity of the letter in Fox Business when reached for comment. And they say, quote, we have nothing further to add. Now, they definitely need to make a change because their stock is taking a beating as it's trading for, great. Again, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, it'll be different because the stock market does what the stock market does. And this is by no means financial advice. Because shoot, hindsight's always 2020, especially when it comes to investing. Who wouldn't have thought, in terms of the odds of an electric car company actually succeeding, gosh, how many people wish we can go back in time and buy Tesla stock when they IPO'd at $17 per share? And then we went all the way up to 1,000. They split a couple times. There's still about $200 bucks or 260 plus per share. It looks like, let's see here. Yeah, this stock has crashed. They're about $10.77 per share. So things not doing great at Ford. Now, in terms of people who buy Ford vehicles, I would guess they tend to be more conservative on average. And if you look at the most profitable part of Ford commercial, it's a lot of heavy duty trucks, a lot of the equipment they use in construction. I would guess on average, this new messaging, this new approach is going to be more favorable to those audiences. I think it's going to be a good move at Ford. Because, they definitely are not winning on the EVs. They lost, $132,000 per EV Q2. So, and they're decreasing production by 40% for the F-150 Lightning Banana Falcon, where they call the trim levels. And yeah, they definitely need to get back to what they're doing mostly good, which is, good old V8s. Although, yeah, at $800 million in warranty costs, Q2 didn't help them either. But let's see. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this will overall increase Ford sales next couple of fiscal quarters? Do you think there's a change in terms of the culture in the United States where more and more people just want to buy a product and not have the kind of the policies and conscriptions and all these ideologies pushed down their throat as well, and they just want to buy a product and nothing more, nothing less? Or do you think more people actually want these companies to do this? Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Trump posts on his most popular one of the week on good old X Twitter, and it's saying if Kamala wins with a flag burning. This comes from, of course, Donald Trump's good old X Twitter account, and he has a picture which you see some military-aged Middle Eastern men, I believe, with one of them has some type of tactical vest and the hat, and they're holding the flag upside down. And it's burning. It says, "quote If Kamala wins," it says, "vote Trump 2020, 2024." Guys are not because they used to be. Now this got 54 million views, as well as 581,000 likes. His most viral post all week on X Twitter. And as you know, when it comes to Trump, that's a pretty big sample size. In fact, he would probably say something to the effect of, "No one posts more than me on the X Twitter. I'm very active. I have all the posts, have all the follows, all the retweets go to me, and some to the enemies. But my posts are the best around. Nothing will ever take them down because Elon is awesome." But I only partially jest. That might be the worst Trump impression you hear all year. But at least hopefully it made you smile a little bit, maybe a little laugh, and all worth it. And interestingly enough, he says if Kamala wins, and they're also holding the American flag upside down, which, spoiler alert for those who aren't really big into history, but it's a sign of duress. And they're also, of course, bringing the flag out. It's interesting, he says if Kamala wins, he should have, in terms of critique, granted it went viral, he did well regardless of my input, and his team knows what he's doing, obviously. But I mean, he really doesn't have to say if Kamala wins. He should just say United States now. Because we're seeing this more and more, especially with the Palestinian protests throughout the U.S., which has resulted in vandalism on World War I memorials in the United States. I mean, literally spray painting graffiti on United States government property, and the government basically does nothing. I think one time they got arrested and let out the next day. And they're also burning American flags all over. And even, again, taking down government in terms of the ownerage of those flags. Well, a lot of times it's government property. So they're taking flags down off of these monuments and burning them. Which, again, that's technically the destruction of government property. They should be charged, obviously, yet they're not. And in the United States, the only flag you can burn without being a hate crime is the United States flag, interestingly enough. Now, granted, obviously, freedom of speech, the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times, you have the right to do that, again, if it's your personal property. So if you go out and you buy your own United States flag, you want to burn it, well, yeah, it is your legal right. I don't agree with it, obviously. It is kind of funny how nowadays, if you see an American flag, you kind of know what they're voting for. Spoiler alert, usually Republican or Libertarian on average. And yeah, he could, instead of saying if Kamala wins, you just say United States now. Because we're seeing this more and more, and you see people coming to America with other countries' flags. I mean, look at Minnesota. They've been conquered. Their state flag used to be a beautifully ornate designed flag, and now it looks like someone with crayon designed it. And it's so rudimentary, it's basically just a bastardized Somalian flag, which does reflect the importation of the Somalians into especially Minneapolis. Which, spoiler, yeah, it's not doing great. It's not doing so well over there. And yeah, it's fun. I do think it's interesting. He says the verbiage of this. If Kamala wins, just say Kamala now. Do you want worse? Something to that effect. And it's quite concerning because, again, the United States. I mean, immigration built the United States, obviously. Now that being said, there would also be a lot more assimilation. I mean, my family came from Cuba. None of us have a Cuban flag. Partially because Fidel is so mentally. And the Castros are so mentally and morally vacuous or evil as all hell. And yet another, how many examples do these idiots need? Or when I say, to clarify, leftists who still call for communism, saying it's never been tried. Yet another example of why communism is not just morally evil, but it's never worked. Look at Cuba. I mean, prior to Fidel taking over, it had a great economy. Some of those iconic brands were headquartered. I mean, Bacardi used to be a Cuban brand, and now I believe they relocated to Puerto Rico. So they're no longer, I mean, it was beautiful and a great economy, great people. Yeah, just destroyed. I mean, this reason we don't fly Cuban flags in the United States. But there's zero. I mean, I would never buy one of those pieces of trash because of what it represents. Just the dictator over there is terrible. So I mean, a lot of times when you come, assimilation was key. That's why we used to all culturally share a lot of the same morals and values, especially the founding fathers. And everyone, I mean, I think patriotism kind of peaked after 9/11. Everyone had an American flag, and nowadays, well, granted, not the best sample size in terms of representatives of the United States, because I would argue Texas is much more patriotic than most. And you see a lot of Texas flags and a lot of United States flags in like Dallas Fort Worth. I mean, average United States seems like we're seeing less and less American flags. Now, this are obviously viral. Again, 54 million views, or as Trump might say, more views than anything Kamala would ever post. Obviously, like 10 times more. No, more like 100. Interestingly enough, that's not all too off. Not his accent, yes, that's probably terribly off. But statistically, you look at a lot of Kamala posts, and she'll get maybe 2 to 3 million. Now, granted, I know she has two posts. She has one on her personal X Twitter page, and she has one specifically with the VP handle. I mean, a lot of her posts usually, actually, no, it's worse than that. I'm looking at her profile right now. Looks like she's peaking, and she's actually posting very frequently. Getting between 200 and 300,000 views per post. And then we have a couple outliers. One got 12 million views, and then a couple more that get 2 to 3 million views. So when it comes to just views on the X Twitter, Trump is definitely winning on that metric. Not sure what that's worth. Now, going to the top comments, you have Ashley St. Clair perfectly encapsulating my point with one of the previous, I don't know if you really consider this protests, the Palestinian demonstrators. I say that because I recognize this video, and I think when the camera pans, they actually are spray painting United States monuments, which again, that would no longer be a peaceful protest. That would obviously be destruction of property and mentally and evilly vacuous. Actually, St. Clair says, quote, "They're already here under Kamala and Joe." This is actually a credit to Timcast. Looks like he got his cool little logo on the bottom here. Looks like someone, not to call it out, but you'll never guess what he's wearing. A rudimentary t-shirt and cargo pants. I don't want to say it's a red flag, but he's not a photographer. He's not carrying lenses in that. But yeah, I was about to call him a gentleman. He's not. He's a scum. So he's carrying a Palestinian flag, and then he goes on the ground. He's lighting the United States flag, and I guess this technically is a public public assembly in terms of it's not private property. It's the public area. I'm not too familiar with the DC area, but burn that shit! 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 Do you think they're probably assimilating in the United States? Like, why are you here? Like, ridiculous. They're about 25 more seconds long. Burn that shit! Burn that shit! Alive! Burn that shit! One has looks like, is that Chuck Schumer on that dowel? Like a United States dowel that they're hanging. Can't, they keep moving it so you can't see the rudimentary printer. They even go to Kinko's. I don't think that's around anymore. Looks like they just use their standard consumer grade printer to print out someone's face and put it on the dowel. How lazy is that? Also, mentally vacuous, morally vacuous. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! I mean, I don't know who's selling these kitchen towels too, because they're making a killing. Because I'll say half the people in there had the kitchen towels as their fashion attire, or as like their cape. I swear I've seen anyone on IKEA. Looks like half of them have it draped around their shoulders. Some of them have it as a mask or something. Yeah, the only flag you see, or the only U.S. flag you can see, is the one that's being burned. They all have Palestinian flags. Again, I don't know who's selling flags these days, but they're making a killing. They're selling with all the new designs they come out with. They're doing quite well. Now, perhaps one of the most best, I don't know if this would be a troll, but it'd be hilarious if you could somehow engineer an American flag very similar to a birthday candle trick, where if you try to ignite the flag on fire, it'd just be fire retardant, I suppose. I'm trying to think of a way where the more you try to destroy the American flag, the stronger it becomes. Someone in the engineering department, get on that. Someone called DuPont. Get some magical new type of material for that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that one that post by Ashley St. Clair got 166,000 views, 2.7 thousand likes. AKA says, quote, "Trump will save our country," 520 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, "We need mass deportations as soon as possible, otherwise America cannot be saved. It's that simple," getting 494 likes. And again, that's another controversial thing, because again, who knows if they're here legally? Again, they might be here legally. In that case, if that is their personal flag, I mean, you're not allowed to set things up on fire. I don't know where that specific instance would fall legally, in terms of the court case being panned out. And granted, these are the same people where they're also, spray painting monuments and burning flags on top of monuments too. Planet Memes also says Kamala is America's last, or puts America last. You have the little, man, this meme is going viral. The one with the kid walking down, and you see the fork in the road, and one side says America last is Kamala and Tim. On the right says America first is Trump and JD Vance. They got 3,000 likes. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, deport every illegal, no exceptions, getting 3.3 thousand likes, which is fascinating that that's become a controversial thing. I mean, it used to be like 50, 60 years ago, or maybe it's just rose-tinted glasses. But at least when I had conversations when I was a kid, I had conversations with adults, and the immigration has been a debate as old as time. But even back then, there were folks saying, like, left and right, it wasn't controversial in terms of a lot of folks were saying, well, yeah, if you come here improperly, illegally, there's no way for us to vet you. We don't know your background. We also, I mean, you're not paying into the, not paying an income tax, which some might argue is the most American thing ever. But the libertarian in me, I partially digress. But yeah, it's the thing where now, sanctuary cities, people are voting for it. It's become more and more controversial, which is, to me, very bizarre. I don't think it should be. Now, Gunther Eagleman also says, no thanks, I'm voting for President Trump, getting 991 likes. Now, we do have the contrarian statement from Mr. Human. He also has a peace sign, American flag, Ukrainian flag, and blue wave emoji in his profile. Kind of the thing, is this secretly just an AI bot? His name is Human. He's just trying to play us. Now, he says, quote, hashtag real Donald Trump, other than xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, fear, hatred, and anger, they have nothing to offer the American people, not one. Dear Trump voter, imagine a friend who lies to you once. You may forgive them twice. You might still trust them, but what if they lie 100, 1,000? Interestingly enough, he doesn't say anything that Trump lied about. He just has a picture of Kamala and the iconic, I forget the graphic designer who did the Obama Hope and Change posters, which those are multi-billion-dollar idea in terms of all the contracts they're getting out subsequently. But yeah, that's very iconic. And now you have a picture, it says Kamala, and it says Rise. Then it has Obama, Trump, and Biden. And then Obama said hope, Trump said hate, and Biden said heal. I got 1.1 thousand likes, though. Was he ratioed? There's I forget what it is, the actor from The Hangover, who's actually a surgeon in real life. The Asian actor, but some gif for him where he just puts his hands around his mouth and screams gay. That gif for GIF goes really viral. I got 2 likes. Let's see here. He says GIF specifics, getting 1 like. Because again, this is the same almost leftist tactic. I don't think it's effective because again, this alleged human, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's not a robot, but again, he's not addressing. Usually him and Luke Zaleski always just copy paste on Trump as well as Elon's social media, just the same drub. Like they don't actually address the core topic. Like this guy's saying, well, he's not even talking about flags being burned or the decrease in patriotism. He's just saying copy paste. And again, he says Trump lied, and yet I'm actually surprised he doesn't give us specific bullet points in that case. Now that did still got 1.1 thousand likes, so you have some contrarian comments in there. Trump Army says, quote, she's the worst border czar. Says Kamala intentionally unsecured the border. And let's see here. She halted the construction of the President Trump's border wall. She took more than 94 executive actions to unsecure the border, opposed all deportations, ended the Remain in Mexico policy, letting millions of illegals into the United States. That was huge. That was one of the most effective policies through the Trump camp during when Trump was in office. It decreased illegal immigration dramatically. And basically, if you're accused of something, if you're accused of being here illegally, well, instead of just letting them in the United States and saying, oh yeah, come to this court day at a specific time, well, they remain in Mexico, hence the name of the policy. One of the policies is actually named properly for what it actually does. And yeah, there's a big disincentive, they remain in Mexico. Now that got 352 likes. Oh, she also says, quote, supports deadly sanctuary cities, funded secret flights for over 320,000 illegals in the country, supports mass amnesty for millions of illegals, and gives them whatever they want in government benefits, getting 352 likes. Going down more and more. Let's see here. Jocelyn Nicaragua says, her life mattered. Think of how her and others when you decide who you want to vote to be your president. Got 272 likes. Yeah, there's been in some places like New York, 75% of the rest around, it was homicide, domestic abuse, and this is a fancy word for graffiti or public defacing property. 75% were illegal aliens. Again, that's it was specifically Manhattan, I believe. But yeah, in some areas, it's a majority of arrests. Now, granted, in terms of the whole United States, still waiting for the statistics to come out. But yeah, the anecdotal evidence is increasing more and more, especially, and we're seeing it more and more on social media. We also have crazy moments saying, quote, the only man that can save America. You see iconic picture after Trump just got shot by attempted assassination. It says, impeached, arrested, convicted, shot, still standing, getting 1.4 thousand likes. Someone by the name of Who says, I'm voting for Trump. You? It's an AI-generated image of Trump in a suit with a cowboy hat holding dual pistols. And look, and this is, granted, it's an AI-generated image, but it also looks like an AI bastardization of a Colt 1911, as well as a Colt revolver merged into one. It is really bizarre. Unique, though. Got 369 likes. Jerry says fact. It says enemy of the people. It's a picture of Obama, Biden, and Kamala getting 1,000 likes. See here. Any other ones? Oh, what's this? White Justice said anyone who burns the flag should be deported immediately, getting 492 likes. Perkles the Great, I haven't heard from him in a while. Is a picture, I believe, some gentleman yelling, "We want Sharia law," and Spock from the Star Trek says, "Well, go home." Getting 2.6 thousand likes. One Bad Dude says, absolutely true. It's a picture of those Palestinian protesters and says, real Americans do not chant death to America ever, getting 660 likes. Very true. Again, Trump's most viral tweet of the week. And granted, this is his personal profile, so I'm guessing the average people who follow him would be more ideologically in the middle or on the right. But we still had a couple contrarians in there. But again, exceedingly popular, at least in terms of this regard, in terms of social media post. And yeah, it should be quite concerning, I would argue, for all Americans, that we're seeing more and more people burning American flags and patriotism at an all-time low. But let me know in the comments, do you think that's an effective methodology to point out to, or a big topic that's going to come into the upcoming election in terms of what Americans care about, or if it's a concern? Let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Putin endorsing Kamala for president. This comes as thanks to Libs of TikTok on the good old ex-Twitter, which she says, quote, Putin supports Kamala for president, so if Russia is interfering with our elections like the leftists claim, it's to help Kamala win. I'm sure the media will be outraged by this foreign election interference. Looks like it's about minute 08 of this interview. And granted, it's also translated, so you can kind of hear the Russian, but not so much. But you'll hear the real.
If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should. That is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing. Her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good, and if everything is good, it means that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she'll refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them. So in the end, it will be the choice of the U.S. people, and we will respect this choice.
Now, that would pretty well got about 241,000 views on those TikTok. Looks like Colin Rugg originally posted it. He got 871,000 views. Libs TikTok also got 8.9 thousand likes. The first comments coming from Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, he wants someone who is predictable and easy to manipulate, getting 283 likes. Craig Chamberlain says, quote, I tried to make this argument, but the left is so brainwashed that they say, of course Putin would lie about wanting Kamala Harris, getting 18 likes. Ash Loren says, why wouldn't Putin want a weak, cackling Kamala in the White House, getting 15 likes. American Papa Bear says, quote, he wants a weak Democrat he can control, yet they say MAGA are Russian assets or bots, getting 86 likes. Also, interestingly enough, the one time Russia did not expand its land mass was when Trump was in office. Russia got bigger when Obama was in office and when Biden-Harris was in office. So it's kind of funny or ironic they keep saying, Trump and Russia they love each other, when Trump was actually pretty hard on Russia in terms of sanctions, in terms of relations in that regard. And yet, that's when Russia did not expand. So you have Natalie Winters saying, quote, white dudes for Harris, getting 97 likes. Well, this is that's kind of funny. That's what AI is made for. There's a funny parody. So you have Bronco Nation said, no one should be surprised by this. Putin loves to deal with weak leaders. It's a famous video of Biden apparently looking like he is defecating himself, and someone did an AI image of Putin just sitting on top of him. Looks like he's riding him. Getting 20 likes. Response Delion has a picture that says Walls Harris endorsed by Vladimir Putin with the Russian flag behind it, getting 9 likes. The AI generated picture of Putin. It has a t-shirt on. It says White Dudes for Kamala, getting 18 likes. There. The Chad has a bunch of the NPC guys looking deranged. It says I'm with her, getting 2 likes. Humanoid Beast has an AI generated picture of Kamala at a computer. It says how to speak with a Russian accent, getting 12 likes. Let's see. You have I forget what you call it, the liberal girl who famously broke down and cried because she's so mentally weak after the 2016 election. She was, of course, wearing the beanie, the glasses, and looks like a winter jacket. And she was the one that just famously cried and broke down. And there's a picture of it. Says, quote, she says, quote, "Hello, Putin, we know you're helping Trump win the election." And then, cheat the election. And then Putin says, "I'm sorry, Kamala." And the girl cries and Putin laughs. Getting 10 likes. Game with the price controls. There'll be, I'm not sure how. Let me know. Do you think this will have a big impact on politics? I mean, do you think Putin is trolling everyone? Do you think he authentically wants her? I mean, historically, it's done pretty well, and Democrats are in office. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Chase having an ATM withdrawal issue, and people are withdrawing lots of money, and with this quote-unquote glitch, but not realizing they're also committing fraud because they're so mentally and morally vacuous. This comes to us thanks to a website called futurism.com. Specifically, the article is The Bite by Frank Landymore, saying, quote, "People who use quote-unquote glitch to get free money from Chase ATMs are now in huge trouble, as they should be." It says freedom of money, not a chance, which, again, shows how mentally vacuous people have become in America. Like, obviously, if you steal money, it's not yours. Unless you're the government, but I partially jest. They say, quote, "Viral videos on the social media purportedly showing a glitch that lets people withdraw unlimited amounts of cash from Chase ATMs. It supposedly works like this. You wrote a check for an ungodly sum, deposited it either through your bank's app or through the Chase ATM, and then immediately withdraw that amount before the check could bounce. This apparently worked in a very short term anyway. As CNN reports, this money hack doesn't take advantage of some legal loophole or magically exonerating circumstances. Nope, this is just straight up check fraud, criminal offense, and the banks are now acting accordingly to scatter the reports online, quickly cracking down on the bank accounts of fraudsters." Chase spokesperson says, quote, "Regardless of what you see online, depositing a fraudulent check and withdrawing these funds from your account is fraud, plain and simple," unquote. Article continues saying, quote, "It's unclear how widespread this Chase ATM trend was or how many people actually attempted it. Some viral videos show people celebrating their quote-unquote glitch windfalls of cash, such as one where they throw the money in the air outside a Chase bank, are almost certainly just skits. It's also hazy just how much money individuals were able to walk away with, since ATMs have limits on how much cash that can be withdrawn, or if there was indeed a glitch or some exploit that allowed fraudsters to circumvent withdrawal limits. At any rate, the situation was real enough for the bank to take action. Chase told CNN the issue has been addressed, and its parent company JP Morgan is carefully reviewing the situation as it tries to determine how many Chase customers, how much money was involved with the viral scheme. They say, quote, "The aftermath has been brutal, as at least one video shows a distressed Chase customer with a negative balance of $31,000 in their account, and another shows one with a 7-day hold." They say, once again, these examples could be jokes, but a little more plausible than the others. According to Jim Wang, a personal finance expert, this is in line with what the banks would actually do, which is placing a hold on the offending accounts by deducting the amount fraudulently obtained cash. Wang says, quote, "You can't spend money because it's not yours. Just because the money appears in your account doesn't mean it's literally yours. And if you spend it and are forced to give it back, you're going to have to figure that out, a way to pay it back." It'll be interesting to see if they try to charge them interest or what they kind of try to charge them an additional punishment, or if they take them to a small claim. Or depending on the size of it, could be small claims court. I don't know how it's going to break down. But again, it's one of those things where I'm not sure if because again, there are many ATM companies, third-party fulfillments. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's a high propensity that they Chase, they're actually operating, they're operating and managing their own ATM machines. And the fact that they were, again, especially how fast technology moves, the fact that they were able to just immediately flag this outlier and all these situations and just shut down completely, people are actually able successfully to get cash out, and now they're going to spend time, money, energy, and resources to get the cash back from these thieves. I gotta say, Chase, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I'd really appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make sure better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.